It's your boy Shawnee Sean. And today was day one of NFL free agency, or at least day one of the legal tampering of NFL free agency this season, and it did not disappoint. It was pretty exciting from the get go. Things actually really kicked off last night with Russell Wilson going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Broncos will actually be paying a majority of his salary, about 38,000 or $38 million of his salary, and signs a league minimum with the Steelers. A new era begins. Steel City, let's ride, or whatever he's gonna stay. But Wilson is now in Pittsburgh. And then this morning, a lot of players got extensions. T. Higgins requested a trade from the Bengals. Ultimately, it doesn't seem like they're getting a deal done. The Eagles extend Landon Dickerson to fortify that O-line. That they just got a new running back in Saquon Barkley. Super exciting news. The Penn State PA native is returning to PA, going down 95 and joining the Philadelphia Eagles. I can't even really say it's that much of a betrayal of the Giants, considering that the Giants had every opportunity to extend him and to pay him. They franchise tagged him, and they ultimately chose to pay Danny Dimes last year, and now they have buyer's remorse. So maybe if they got the long-term deal with Saquon Barkley and franchise tagged Danny Dimes, they would have been a better situation. But ultimately, running backs got paid this today, basically, and this year in the free agency market, which is really nice considering last year they held out, and they haven't really been paid as of yet. So Saquon Barkley gets a monster deal, 3 years worth over $38 million, and could be up to $45 million. Tony Pollard signs. DeAndre Swift was the first running back that actually signed in the day, and signs with the Bears, a former division rival, as he used to play with the Lions and then the Eagles. Had 1,000 yards with the Philadelphia Eagles, so had a pretty nice career here, or I guess 1 year. Re-solidify his stock, and it looks like he is going to Chicago, and joining a crowded backfield with Khalil Herbert and who's the other guy they got? Rashawn Johnson. And then Tony Pollard signs with the Titans, pairing with Tajee Spears. Looks like Tony Pollard, the former Cowboy. It looks like the Cowboys really just didn't have that much money to pay guys. If anything, they actually have to cut a couple guys. So not really sure what the Cowboys are doing. They say that they're going all in, but I don't know. If you consider this all in, it's got me scratching my head. Although maybe they're trying to rework Dak's contract or give him an extension, and maybe that'll free up some money, or let them do some other moves. But I don't see Derrick Henry going there. It sounds most likely that he'll be headed to the Ravens, so that could be pretty exciting and pretty fun, but that's still just a rumor, so stay tuned on that. But the Raiders signed defensive tackle Christian Wilkins, the former Dolphins DT, is now going to be paired up with Max Crosby, which could be a very scary pairing for quarterbacks. So we will see how they do in Oakland. Christian Wilkins gets the bag with a 4-year, $110 million deal. Jags are signing ex-Bills wide receiver Gabe Davis to a 3-year, $39 million deal. So it looks like Calvin Ridley will most likely be leaving. Haven't really heard much about his current market, but Gabe Davis is, a pretty nice, fast receiver. So we will see how he does with Trevor Lawrence. Ultimately, couldn't really get things done with Josh Allen. But, was playing on the other side of Stephon Diggs, who took a lot of pressure. So, it seemed like Gabe Davis disappeared at times this season. So we'll see how this contract goes. But 3 years, 39 million isn't too bad. About 13 mil each year. Packers sign ex-Raiders running back Josh Jacobs and release Aaron Jones. That's a pretty big surprise that they're actually shaking up their running back room. Not a lot of people expected this. AJ Dillon is a free agent as well. So we'll see where he signs or if he signs somewhere. But the Packers really shake things up, get Josh Jacobs, who is a great running back, honestly had a nice career with the Raiders. They franchise tagged him. He got hurt, but ultimately they get a little younger and probably a little faster with Jacobs as the new running back in Green Bay. So it'll be pretty exciting to see him there in that new younger offense. I think that they'll still probably get another running back either in the draft or in free agency to pair him up, considering I think they're still pretty thin there since they cut Aaron Jones. Or maybe they, re-sign Aaron Jones to a much cheaper deal, although I don't think he's interested in that. His market just opened up. Kirk Cousins signs a 4-year deal with the Atlanta Falcons. Pretty exciting if you're a Falcons fan, considering they've been missing a quarterback for a little while now. 4-year, $180 million deal. Apparently, his wife and in-laws are all from Atlanta, so it was a simple move. He was waiting for the legal tampering period, so he waited a little bit after 12. But it seemed like all arrows were pointing in the direction of Atlanta, and that is now his new home. And he's got a pretty exciting wide receiver corps with Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, and maybe they get a guy or two in the draft. So Atlanta's definitely been doing a nice rebuild through free agency and the draft, and just over the past few years they've really revitalized themselves. So exciting to see how Big Kirko does in ATL. And then the big news for me personally, as an Eagles fan, is the Eagles signed Saquon Barkley to a 3-year deal. Very exciting getting the former division rival running back as he comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, where he'll get a much better offensive line, a much better quarterback, and hopefully they'll be able to utilize him. When he came out and his first year, they really used him a lot as a pass catcher and moved him out in different scenarios. So I'd really love to see the Eagles play around with Saquon Barkley, and I think that this is very much just a retaliation move for the Eagles, considering that they've seen what the 49ers have been able to do getting a guy like Christian McCaffrey. So I think that this is sort of their move back to hopefully stay, relevant and atop of the NFC. The 49ers were no joke this year, and Brock Purdy seems like he's a pretty legit quarterback, went to the Super Bowl this year. So technically has as credible as or maybe not as credible, but a pretty credible resume thus far. But the Eagles add some serious firepower with Saquon Barkley. I wouldn't be surprised if they get a slot receiver, a low-end slot receiver, or linebacker. They actually did get Bryce Huff, who's a defensive end. So that's pretty exciting. He was a highly he did very well statistically for the Jets over the past few years. So I think that he'll fit the Eagles scheme very well, and the Eagles like having a plethora of pass rushers, and they're trying to get a little bit younger, and they had the cap flexibility this year with about $40 million to play with. The Panthers sign offensive line the guard Robert Hunt to a 5-year deal to protect Bryce Young. We'll see how that does. They desperately needed some protection for Bryce Young, and they may have overpaid a little bit here, but they do get some good, a good starter to at least build a line with. The former Dolphins offensive guard is going to the Panthers. I don't know how well he actually did. Just considering the Dolphins and Tua really got rid of the ball so quickly. So I feel like maybe his offensive line stats may be inflated. I don't really know offensive line stats. But Packers sign safety Xavier McKinney from the New York Giants to a 4-year, $68 million. It looks like a lot of these safeties got paid this year after a lot of them got held out or needed deals last year. It looks like some of them are cashing in. Now, obviously, this is day one of free agency where everyone's getting big deals. But I'll mention a couple other safeties and running backs really got more money than I was expecting, and I think the cap did expand a little bit this year, about 30 mil. Maybe not quite that much, but a decent 13 mil. So a decent amount. So teams had a little bit more to spend. But the Giants, to replace Saquon Barkley, I guess, signed Devin Singletary. The former Bills running back now goes to the Giants. We'll see how he does. It's a lot to carry on, but the Giants will most likely look to the draft to get a running back. The Raiders agreed to terms with quarterback Gardner Minshew to a 2-year, $25 million deal. Seems more like a fringe starter, a bridge quarterback. Aiden O'Connell clearly is not the answer, but they will very likely draft a guy. I think they have the 12th or 11th pick, so a pretty early pick, and they could very well move up to get a guy or stay put and be happy with maybe getting a guy like Bo Nix or Spencer Rattler a little bit later. But Raiders are, little questioning is considering the Justin Fields market really seems to be quieting down. Really thought that he would have more suitors. Maybe I know that the Atlanta Falcons were really waiting and trying to get Kirk Cousins, and then Justin Fields was their backup plan. They clearly got Kirk Cousins, so Justin Fields' market may have shied up for now, but we will see if it raises up a little bit more as the NFL draft gets closer or even on draft night. Dolphins left tackle Teron Armstead will play in 2024 and agrees to adjusted contract. That's not that exciting. Giants trade for Panthers Brian Burns to a 5-year, $150 million deal. The linebacker is getting about 30 mil each year. Ridiculous, if you ask me. Hell of a player and definitely underrated or undervalued to some level. One of the best players on a bad team, but this is ridiculous money. I think it's honestly a great return for the Panthers. I'm pretty sure they get a 2 and a 5 in return. They clearly didn't want to pay Brian Burns that money, and I'm pretty sure they franchise tagged him last year. So Brian Burns clearly gets the bag and is now the new safety in New York as they lost Xavier McKinney. An ex-Chargers running back, Austin Eckler, signs with the Washington Commanders on a 2-year deal worth about $12 million. Way less than I was expecting. I mean, I know he's a little bit of an aging running back at this point, but really a good do-it-all guy. I was actually expecting him to get a little bit more. So I don't know if maybe just the premier running backs got their monies and now Austin Eckler's just taking the bag that he can. Or maybe he wants the opportunity, but will now likely share a backfield with Brian Robinson. So they're both pretty good pass catchers. And clearly the Giants, or not the Giants, the Commanders lose a running back that went to Tony Gibson went to the Patriots, so they get, I guess, reinforcements or a slight upgrade in Austin Eckler. Patriots, speaking of them, get offensive lineman Michael Onwenu to a 3-year, $57 million deal. So stays with the team. They also get Jacoby Brissett back from free agency, returns back to New England on a 1-year, $8 million deal. Will likely be the bridge quarterback for whoever they draft. Seems like, I guess, whoever's the consolation of the three, because I think they have the third or fourth pick. So they most likely will not get Caleb Williams unless they trade up. And that leaves them with Drake May or Jalen Daniels. So Jayden Daniels. So we will see. But they can also move back or do any number of things. But that was pretty much what's happened today. Defensive lineman Leonard Williams resigns with the Seahawks on a 3-year deal, and the Bengals are planning on releasing Joe Mixon. That's pretty much what happened for the most part today. Nice to see a lot of these guys get paid, and hopefully they do well in their new cities as they found new homes. As far as quarterbacks, the best ones available: Ryan Tannehill still available, Jimmy G still available. Jameis Winston signed with the Cleveland Browns to back up Deshaun Watson, so that'll be interesting. Joe Flacco's still a free agent. Josh Dobbs is still a free agent. Sam Darnold could be the answer in Minnesota. I've also heard that Minnesota is interested in Trey Lance. Everyone's interested in Trey Lance. I guess he's still got a lot to prove, but Trey Lance is originally from Minnesota and played at North Dakota State, so relatively familiar with the area, so could be the home team discount. And the Cowboys are pretty desperate for assets at this point. Drew Lock's a free agent. Mason Rudolph's a free agent. Carson Wentz is a free agent. Marcus Mariota is a free agent. Eagles need a backup quarterback, so any number of these guys could be slightly interesting. I like Tyrod Taylor as a potential Eagles backup, but maybe bring back a guy like Marcus Mariota or Drew Lock. Yeah, that's pretty much all I like for the available quarterbacks. Available running backs: Derrick Henry is most likely going to go to the Ravens. That's what I'm hearing so far. Definitely the best running back available on the market right now. Aaron Jones and Joe Mixon were both released today, so we'll see where they wind up. I don't think many NFL teams were necessarily prepared for them to hit the free agency market, so I don't necessarily know who's interested in them. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a free agent. Interested to see where he goes. Zeke is a free agent, will most likely retire, although maybe a team, or maybe he just stays ready for the season and is a later on addition, but I don't see him really getting that big of a deal. Jarek McKinnon, Alexander Madison, not very sexy. Dalvin Cook, all these Minnesota rejects at this point. I heard that the Giants were interested in Boston Scott, but then they signed Devin Singletary, so I don't know if that really has much credibility anymore. Former Eagles running back Rashad Penny is also a free agent. So a lot of running backs that aren't very sexy or exciting at this point. In the wide receiver market, Calvin Ridley and OBJ are probably the two best names available right now. Marquise Brown and Darnell Mooney are also decent options. Tyler Boyd, Michael Thomas, Curtis Samuel, MVS. And that's pretty much it. Mecole Hardman, but not really that many big names on the wide receiver market. Tight end Austin Hooper, Mike Gesicki, Logan Thomas, and I thought Noah Fant, but it looks like he's re-signing with the Seahawks on a 2-year deal. So looks like that came in pretty recently. Tyron Smith was cut by the Cowboys, so is David Bakhtiari. So be interested if the Jets, or wouldn't be surprised if the Jets went after David Bakhtiari. That's pretty much the exciting news in offensive linemen. Laken Tomlinson, center Connor Williams. That's pretty much it. Edge rusher Janelle Hunter's still available. Jadeveon Clowney, Chase Young hasn't. Curious to see what Chase Young's market is. Big fan of him. Although I've heard that he's been somewhat disappointing on both teams that he's been on, or take some plays off. So maybe he has to bet on himself. Carl Lawson's available. Emmanuel Agba. Yannick Ngakoue, who's getting up there in age. Cleveland Farrell, who's still a decent player, even though he was drafted a little too early. Randy Gregory, I don't know. He's getting up there in age as well. Interior D-line. Fletcher Cox retired. Calais Campbell still going, though. DJ Reader, Eric Armstead, Sheldon Rankins, Javon Kinlaw. Linebacker, which should be interesting since the Eagles actually do need a linebacker, for me personally, at least in my personal interests. And some of the best ones are actually still out on the market in Patrick Queen, Bobby Taylor, Levante David, and Devin White. So stay tuned to see if the linebacker market heats up a little bit tomorrow. Eagles definitely still have some money to play with, as do many other teams. And the second day of free agency is usually pretty exciting. And Isaiah Simmons is actually a guy I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles brought in, especially if they try to wheel and deal Hassan Reddick. Seems like a very similar player, although Isaiah Simmons is more flexible, can play a little bit of safety and linebacker, where Hassan Reddick is more of the outside linebacker kind of guy. But both very good athletic guys that can sort of be thrown all over. And it looks like still a lot of good discount lower guys that are depth guys and free agents and outside linebackers and stuff like that. The cornerback market has been sort of all over the place, although there haven't been that many great guys. Jalen Johnson re-signs with the Bears. L'Jarius Sneed gets franchise tagged with the Chiefs. Those were probably the two best guys. Stephon Gilmore is getting a little older, but still a free agent. Kendall Fuller and Xavier Howard, also free agents. Chidobe Awuzie signs a 3-year deal with the Titans. Tre'Davious White is still a free agent as well. Adoree Jackson, Ahkello Witherspoon, Eli Apple, Levi Wallace. So not really great upper echelon talent, but some depth pieces and definitely some guys that some guys might want. Like I said, the safety market's been pretty hot today, although there are still some guys available in Carmen Cole, Justin Simmons, who led the league in interceptions, Eddie Jackson, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Julian Blackmon, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, Jamal Adams, and that's relatively it. Jamal Adams really fell off after the Seahawks trade for him. That didn't really look so good. A lot of people don't look back at that. But the safety market, like I said, has been pretty hot. Antoine Winfield gets a franchise tag. Xavier McKinney signs with the Packers. Geno Stone signs with the Bengals. Kevin Byard signs with the Bears. That happened last night. That was one of the first moves. Darnell Savage goes to the Jags. And, yeah. Couple kickers. Kai Fairbairn, Greg Zerline, Chase McLaughlin, Will Lutz, and McManus, they all re signed with their respective teams. So congrats to that. And same thing with punters. They all re signed with their teams or long snappers. None of them really hit the market or signed with new teams. I'm getting pretty tired. This was a pretty exciting and fun first day of free agency. Stay tuned for more as free agency is, this is still just the first wave. Day 2 is still going to be pretty exciting. And then they've got, the second wave really after the draft, and then the third wave of like sort of just rookie camps and preseason. So we're still in that first wave. We're literally just day 1. So got the next really month or so of free agent talk. So stay tuned. Maybe I'll go live a little bit more. And hope you enjoyed. Check out Fanatics. They've got some cool NFL merchandise. Check out the links right there. And follow your boy Shawnee Football on all social medias. It really helps out the channel. And that's pretty much going to do it. So go Birds. And stay tuned. Howie season's going. And I guess we'll get the outro music.